Now the fabric is laying pretty nice. This is the product that we're going to be using. It's called Odie Coat, and it comes in a bag. It comes with a little credit card, which is the applicator. When you're doing this, this kind of is like glue that dries clear, but it makes your fabric feel like very thin vinyl. So the first thing I do, I don't want any lint or anything like that on it, so I get a lint brush and just go over it one time. And you want to do this between every coat. It's going to take us 3 coats to make it waterproof, and it'll make it where it's really nice when we glue it on. So open it up, and it's just kind of a slimy, mushy mess. The first coat is the hardest, and it's really not hard. So I take and put a glob on, and I start, and don't push down hard when you're applying it. Just kind of smear it. And since I've got ravelings at the edge, I want to make sure and not get those threads up. So I'm just kind of smearing around. Now I'll work it, but don't push hard or it will stretch your fabric. And if you don't get every spot perfectly on the first time around, that's okay, because you're going to be putting 3 coats on it. And you don't want to leave any globs. That's the big thing. You don't want to leave any globs. The first coat's definitely the hardest to put on even. Hook on. And this is water washable, so I can wash it off my cutting mats when I'm done. And you don't have to tape it down. I've just found that it helps if you do. After I get done where I think I've done and I put my first coat on, whoops, use my flashlight and go over it. And anywhere I see a high ridge where the credit card has left too much, or I see threads in it, I just wipe that off. Not going to hurt anything to use your hand on it. I don't want any thick bumps. If I have thick bumps, it doesn't look nice when you're finished. So, the light at the other end and the flashlight both really help. So the thing, this is probably the 10th project at least that I've done with it. And the big thing is don't leave big lines or lumps of the product. Looks pretty good. Okay, so after you get your Odie coat on it, be sure and close your lid up. This is kind of expensive and it does dry out pretty quick. I usually seal it back in a Ziploc bag. And then I just take the credit card to the sink and wash that off, and we'll let it dry out and I'll come back to it. When you're done applying each layer of Odie coat, the directions now say to press in between to get that Odie coat to go down in your fabric and adhere to your fabric. So you want to make sure and lay print side up and take parchment paper. I just buy mine at Walmart. And just gently press. Don't leave your iron in the spot too long. The directions really aren't clear. They just say press it after each layer. But I like to just go back and forth over it a few times. And the paper kind of sticks to it. And this makes that Odie coat go deep into the fibers. And by the third coat, it is waterproof. And one mistake that I made, one of the first times I did it, I wasn't thinking. And I wanted to press from the back of my fabric. So I turned my fabric over, put the parchment paper on top, and I got all kinds of crud in my Odie coat and had to throw that piece away and start over. So make sure that your parchment paper's on your right side. Still got a wrinkle here, so I'm doing a little more, but really easy, no big deal. Just press that Odie coat in. Okay, I'm ready to start my second coat. When I went to check this just a little bit ago, I noticed it was kind of sticking to my mat, and it usually doesn't do that. But it was sticking to my mat, so if you have that problem or you don't want to put it on a mat, you can use just regular parchment paper, lay it out, and then put your fabric out on that. Once you get your first coat on, it won't soak through as much, but it did soak through, so I kind of had to pull it up in places. But we are ready to do the second coat. So make sure, whoops, plastic from my Odie coat, and whoops, use your lint brush, get anything off. This coat's going to be way easier because it doesn't have to soak into the fabric. So, grab a little Odie coat, put it on just the same way we did before. Okay, now just like the first coat, use your light, your flashlight, and make sure you don't have any humps and ridges and clumps. If you do, wipe them out with your hand. Especially along the edges, I find I get clumps, so. Looks good. I don't see any pieces of thread in it. Don't see any bad lumps. I think I got it. That's it. Let this one dry, and then we'll put our third coat. So I had two coats on. I went ahead and ironed it with my parchment paper over it, and now I'm getting ready to put my third coat on. And it takes, whoops, very little time. First, make sure you have everything off. Use your lint brush. And especially light colored fabric, because everything shows up in light colored fabric. If you see anything, pick it off. You can sometimes pick it off with your nail. But if you're careful, you don't have much. So here goes our third coat. Start right down the middle. It's definitely feeling like thin vinyl now. And this one, it looks good. So that's it, 3 coats. I will press it again with parchment paper over it. And that, when you iron it, it presses it into the fabric and adheres it. And if you wanted to make an apron or something with it, it would be washable. At least that's what the website says. So there we go, 3 coats.